always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Glad you guys could all make it. And it was an interesting game. The fear of the two defensive ends going down early, hopefully optimistic. Of course, if you guys hear anything in the Kyle Shanahan pressers, let me know because I have not, heard an official word on Yetur Gross-Matos or Leonard Floyd. But it was an interesting and fun game. I thought we saw some dynamics from some of the rookies once again. We've seen some players potentially take the step of making this 53-man roster. And we got to see a crazy ending that saw a ball bounce to Trent Taylor and then just everyone throw around and play some schoolyard BS. And it was a lot of fun to watch. So it was an interesting game and really excited to talk about it. And what's up to everyone in chat? I saw Josh was in here earlier. And what's up to Spidey Danger? Spidey Danger in the house. How's it going? And Luke says, what's up, Luke? How's it going? Says, yeah, Womack standing there shocked. Dude caught the ball and puts his hands up like I didn't touch him when he should have put a body on him. That was not the best play for Sam Womack, unfortunately. So that was a little nerve-wracking. He got beat off the line. It was a nice route by the wide receiver, and then the wide receiver, I think it was actually a running back, had that separation. Then the ball's tremendously overthrown. He goes up and makes a play, and you're right, Womack, nowhere to be found. That was a little frustrating, to say the least, for 49er fans, as we're trying to see if Sam Womack, can make this football team, and it didn't look good right there. And now, of course, you're not going to be everything in totality is going to be the decision. Every single practice, every single rep, every single game performance, those are what are going to trigger who makes this team and who doesn't, but not exactly what you wanted to see from a guy like Samuel Womack. You want to see him continue to play it. I thought that overall, when you looked at Womack, you looked at Luter Jr., I'm not sure one of them really asserted themselves more than the other in these two preseason games where both played. I know Womack played in all three. Luter Jr. the last two. He had the interception in the end zone, which was great. He played it well. I thought the pass was a little interesting. It definitely hung up forever, but give credit to Luter Jr. But I didn't think we've seen consistency from either one of them. I think the best cornerback that I've seen in the last couple games was Rock Yassin. Now, that's not including Demo, who looks fantastic all the time. I'm talking about of the guys at the end of the roster. So I think that, these guys are going out there and they're competing, and I think they've put forth a good effort, but decisions for guys at the end of the roster still have to be made, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they decide. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on the audio platform, 40 Yards Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. If you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college football kicking off, Bet Online is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on a winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and use the promo code BELIEVE and get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. And Luke says this, Luter made some mistakes too, for sure. That's the thing with preseason football. You're going to see mistakes. It's just the way it is, right? I mean, Tim Ryan going on about Cameron Latu going the wrong way on a protection. You could see even after Latu made the tackle on the punt, he's still shaking his head because he knows those things are very critical to your chances of making this roster. So you're going to make mistakes. It's how you rebound from those mistakes, and can you not make as many in the future? That's one of the keys. We talk about consistency a lot on this channel, and that's exactly what they have to do. They have to make sure they're way more consistent. And I think that's part of what these players are trying to do. They're trying to show consistency, and that's ultimately what the team wants. Josh says, what's up, Josh, by the way? Says Garindo on that kick return he was fast. That was the explosiveness we wanted to see from Garindo. I was excited when I saw him back there on the opening kick return. It got out to the 33, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't bad, but nothing crazy. We had seen Schrader get returns that went that far, but when he got out there and busted down that left sideline and then across the field, I think he gassed towards the end. Maybe that's some of that not practicing throughout the training camp. I thought it looked good, and that I thought was a good signal. I had already kind of saw a couple runs he made earlier where I decided he had good enough vision that he was making this football team just from a couple of runs. And I think that the kick return definitely put him in a position to help this team beyond just being running back 4. So any questions about Isaac Garindo, at least the explosiveness, some of the vision, it was a lot better. I thought the vision was a lot better than I anticipated. And I think that's a Bobby Turner effect. Elijah Mitchell, similar problems to Garindo in college as far as the vision. And then he gets to the 49ers and they figure out the one cut and go. Garindo showed some patience. I thought that was a good thing as well. So I like them both. David Campbell says, missed most of the game, but I'm still here. Well, welcome, David. I'm glad you're here. One of the latest episodes I have to say I've ever done. It's after 10 o'clock here on the West Coast. And of course, if you're watching somewhere else, like on the East Coast, it's happy Saturday, right? So, I'm glad you guys are all here and in chat. And Key says, how do you think Garindo played? I thought he played good. I thought he looked the part. I liked that the 49ers gave him a lot of reps at running back. They split up his time a little bit with Patrick Taylor, but for the most part, Isaac Garindo was handling the ball. He caught the ball in the backfield. He did okay in protections, at least from what I saw. Of course, the All-22 film will probably reveal a lot more of the techniques and intricacies of what he did. But I thought from the eye view that I had, I thought he did a pretty good job. I think that he could definitely continue to get better, but you've seen promise. And so now we've seen the 49ers have a lot of guys with promise. Renardo Green has showed promise. You get Dominic Pooney. He showed a ton of promise. And this dude has looked fantastic. Now we're starting to get up there with Malik Mustafa. He's looked good. Isaac Garindo, Jacob Cowing, even Jarrett Kingston has looked pretty good. Tatum Bethune. We have question marks about Ricky Pearsall just because we haven't seen him. But right now, it looks like the 49ers are hitting some home runs. And these are guys that are going to fill spots that are going to, kind of take this team into the next level and the next step of having to rebuild and re-energize this roster. So I thought Garindo did a good job. He showed a mixture of power and speed, some good vision, some good hands catching the football, taking contact. Overall, I thought it was a good show for Garindo. David says, anyone get hurt? And like Josh said here, David, Lloyd and Gross Matos hurt. So they both hurt their knee, according to the report. They're both questionable for return. We did see both of them. They got hurt in the first quarter, even into the second quarter. Both were on the sideline walking around. We've seen Leonard Floyd joking around with Kyle. I'm hoping that's a good sign. Jennifer Lee Chan said Gross Matos did not come back out after halftime. So we'll see what those injuries look like. The good news is the 49ers don't have a game next week. So if it's nothing significant, likely they will be ready to go. But yeah, everyone's going to be holding their breath and watching to see what happens with those two defensive ends. Key says, did Collins and Hargrave do anything? I saw Floyd got a sack. I thought I seen a lot of penetration from them. They did not actually produce a sack. That didn't happen. But I think I saw some aggressiveness, them get upfield and penetrate against the Raiders. A little bit of the time they kind of ran by runners. I thought that was a little frustrating. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for stats, I don't think you're going to find them. A lot of stats from Malik Collins or Javon Hargrave. But I think when you watch the film, you're going to see that they were penetrating, getting in the backfield. And the 49ers got to kind of get this thing figured out. But those guys are going to be good this year. That's for sure. Luke says the running back room is good. We have a high floor guys, and we've got guys with upside. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it right now. The 49ers have the way Jordan Mason ran today, by the way, was absolutely fantastic. He's doing it all, making a catch, making the guys miss, get some extra yardage. Jordan Mason looks very good. So I think Mason, Elijah Mitchell, and Christian McCaffrey could start on a lot of teams around the league. I mean, we know McCaffrey would start on any team, but the other two could start on at least half the football teams in the league. 49ers got three basically guys that can get it done. So I think it's going to be really good. And let's see what we got here. We got this from KNDR using his membership benefit. And KNDR, thank you so much. Being a member for 35 months. Well done. Says Raider fans mad their ankle bracelets won't let them drive to Vegas. Dude, boom. Bringing the noise with the membership there. So congratulations on that, KNTR. Absolutely fantastic. So what is up to Texas Tio, aka Tio Roberto? How's it going? Uncle Rob, he says Mason was a beast tonight, loving Dobbs and Mordecai. And you're right, Mason is a monster. He looked really good. And you're right, Joshua Dobbs, I thought, came in and he just looked comfortable again in the pocket, delivering passes, making plays. I mean, Dobbs is just getting better and better and better. The way that he uses his legs, but also the way that he's being able to use his recognition, use his arm. To me, I think that Josh Dobbs has looked really good. I think he's quarterback too. But, you know, like they were saying on the broadcast, the 49ers don't really have to decide until it's time to put someone in. So we'll see. They can kind of go back and forth at practice. Now, we know reps are going to get more and more limited. So it's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers do. But I think both guys played well, even though I would give a little bit of an advantage to Joshua Dobbs. I thought he's looked really, really good. Key says, I thought Green played well. Looks like a strong rookie class. It is. It's looking better and better every day. And we're just in the preseason. So, I mean, we can't make, wholesale proclamations that, yes, this rookie class is going to be one of the best or it's going to look really good. But I think we've seen some things. And Bernardo Green has had moments where he's looked really good. Jacob Cowing, since he's been able to play, has been electric. He's done a lot. I think there's only room for improvement for him, and he already looks really good. He's taken that punt return job. That's done deal. I think that forced Trent Taylor to not make this 53-man roster. So the rookies for the 49ers have stepped up, from Dominic Pooney to Bernardo Green to Malik Mustafa to Jacob Cowing, now Isaac Garendo. You're right. It's a well-rounded, well-versed rookie class that has a lot of ability. And I think we're going to feel the effects of this really good rookie class, not just this season, because some of them were asked to play early on, but into 2025 and 2026. And when roster building gets more difficult, you have to make decisions on key players, being able to pay them or pay someone else. If you have a player that's developing from you being able to draft, it's going to really help your football team. And I thought we saw that on display for the 49ers. So that's exactly what you're hoping, and that's exactly what we're getting. So what's up, the Big Papa? How's it going, Paul? He says, hey, Ant, while seeing Pooney pushes running backs in the end zone again today, seems like it's a habit. It's a good method, and I thought we seen some good stuff from the offensive line. That running play where they get the touchdown with Jordan Mason and he's powering in, you get really Nick Zakelj getting a huge push. That's always needed. But, yeah, Dominic Pooney doing a good job. Jake Brendel looked like he did a good job. I'm going to refer to the film, but we were getting some vertical push out of that offensive line, and Dominic Pooney is a big reason why. I thought he did good on the snaps that I focused on him. And I think that you're right. He brings an attitude where he wants to finish every run, and I love it. Let's go ahead. Let's help Mason. Mason doesn't need a lot of help, but if you can generate a little bit more force, it's going to carry people right into the end zone. So I'm with you. I think that Pooney does that, and I think it works out, and it's been really, really good. Luke says, I want to see Tanner become quarterback too. He's cheap for the next 3 or 4 years. He's got a good arm, and he's fast, and he's playing at the very end with no guys. Here's one of the things that's interesting about Tanner Mordecai. I think as far as you look at the talent, he's got the speed, he's got a strong arm. Those things you can't deny. I think he's got a long way to go as far as reading defenses, recognizing what he's looking at, and getting rid of the football. I think that if you told me next year or the year after that he had progressed enough to be quarterback 2, I would say that's not far-fetched. He's just not capable right now. He struggles to come off read 1. If you watch his film last week and then some of it this week, it is literally locked onto the guy, locked onto the guy, locked onto the guy. I'm not saying he doesn't ever come off read one because he has. What I'm saying is that's a tendency of him to hold on and look for read one longer than he should. I think in time he's going to progress, and a lot of that's just learning this offense and learning what you're expected to do within this offense. So Mordecai is got some ability. We'll see. Does he make the 49ers practice squad? If he does, then they're going to continue to develop. If not, we'll see where he ends up. But I think Joshua Dobbs and Brandon Allen are the best situation for the San Francisco 49ers right now. But yeah, I mean, Mordecai, he's done a pretty good job. He's definitely got the arm and everything going there. Stand On It says, what grade do you give this offensive line? You know, without watching it overall, I thought there was some times that there was some pressure put on Brock Purdy early, and there was some also pressure on Brandon Allen. I know for a fact that I saw Jalen Moore get beat on an inside move on the sack of Brock Purdy. So I don't know without watching the All-22 and really focusing on them, what grade they ultimately will get. But I would say I couldn't give it an A, that's for sure, just from the pressure that I saw. I like some of the run blocking that I saw. So I'm going to put it at like a B minus with the caveat that once I watch the All-22, I can move it up or down. It's just so hard when you're watching the TV copy to be able to watch all the offensive linemen. It was a little bit easier for me last week. I was at the game and I was able to see the field from the end zone, so I could kind of see it a little bit different. So offensive line play was easier for me to watch then. But just looking at the copy right now, I can't tell you everyone that did things right. Sometimes I've seen guys do things right, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get down and watch those things. So I was excited about some of the offensive linemen, and what's up to Hugo here. I've been continually impressed by Nick Zakelj. I think he's earned a spot. I want to watch Ben Barch and see how he performed in this game because he got back out there, and I'm excited to see that. And what's up to Hugo G? Says hashtag TCC. Thanks for being in the house. Lou says, Ant, so now what do we do at defensive end? We are in trouble. Well, I don't know what exactly is the final injury diagnosis for Leonard Floyd or for Yetur Gross-Matos. If these are serious injuries that are going to keep them out for a serious amount of time, you're right. We're in trouble. The 49ers don't have the depth at the position that we were hoping we were going to have. That you were going to have a young Robert Beal potentially ascending this year, that you were going to have Drake Jackson potentially playing really well. And we know those things, haven't happened and materialized. But I don't know what these injuries are, and they could be nothing. And if they are nothing and these guys are going to be available for the first week of the season, September 9th versus the Jets, well, then I'm not ultimately too concerned about it because Leonard Floyd and Gross-Matos are solid. Robert Beal Jr., I want to go through and watch his game film from this week. But last week down the stretch, I found some plays that I like. So I think that it's not all bad with Robert Beal. I think with time he could get a little bit better. But you're right. I mean, if those injuries stick, it's going to be a little scary, right? So we'll see how that goes. We'll see what ends up happening. And Jimmy says, "What a good game," and I think it was a fun game. It kind of has that nostalgic feel because you have the old Bay Area matchup with the Raiders. I was really shocked that Antonio Pierce was willing to take the field goal and tie. And once they said the Raiders were 0-2 in the preseason, I realized he didn't want to go out with them having an offer. So you get at least the tie. But it was kind of fun. To me, I didn't care who won the game. I just wanted to see the performances of the players and see who stepped up and who's going to be able to make this roster, because the 49ers are going to have roster decisions to make. They have to cut this roster from 91 down to 53 on Tuesday by 1:00. And we saw the Bengals released 11 players today. So some of it's going to happen over the weekend for some teams. We'll see if the 49ers wait and they cut everyone all at one time, but pretty interesting overall. Let's see. We got right here from KNDR. Yetur Gross-Matos sounds like he was the 2007 UFC World Lightweight Champion. No lies told there. Well played. And Hugo is upset with Brandon Aiyuk. Can we just trade Aiyuk for Crosby straight up? Now, that would actually be a crazy trade. I mean, Max Crosby opposite of Nick Bosa, that would be insane. Those guys would get so many sacks. That would be unbelievable. And we know the Raiders would not do that. Max Crosby's a linchpin of not just of their defense, but of their organization, his attitude, the way he approaches football. But yeah, if they were willing to do that, I think that would be very, very hard, very, very hard for the 49ers to turn down. And Nico, what's up? Nico says you may not have Crosby Hugo. Nico's like, not happening. You're not taking our guy, Max Crosby. And, Brandon Aiyuk, the whole situation, hopefully is going to play out. And I think now we've got a deadline that's coming up. So that thing is going to work itself out. Trent Williams is going to work itself out. And hopefully those things will come to conclusion sooner rather than later. The 49ers now are going to be taking a day or two off, and then they're going to turn their focus to preparing for the New York Jets. And that's going to be a big football game. And that's a Monday night game, which means the next week they got a short week. So they've got time to kind of get prepared, get themselves back to where they want to get. But I think they also would love to get some of this stuff behind them. Get Trent Williams in, get that behind them, get Brandon Aiyuk situated, whether that's on the 5th-year option or an extension, and get that behind him and just put focus on Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets, and a very talented Robert Saleh defense. So that's going to be the full focus for the coaching staff and the players. And we know for the front office, the full attention is going to be to Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams, but also to making roster moves that they need to make so that way they can get the best possible team together for the 53, get the best possible practice squad, and then also play some roster gymnastics to not lose any players. So I think that it's going to be very interesting, how the 49ers end up building this thing. Lou says the deadline on Aiyuk has long passed. It hasn't passed because he hasn't started losing game checks. So Brandon Aiyuk is not really going to get fined. The 49ers can forgive all of his fines for what holding out. So he was never really going to get fined because he's on his 5th-year option. So he did a hold in. He's been in all the meetings. So there's no fines there. But he would be fined when it came to games. And so if he starts missing games and he starts missing checks, that's when things will really change. So I know how you feel about that, and I understand it. And I'm not going to get too much into Aiyuk. But I'm hoping that thing just gets done here pretty soon. Hugo says, I'm out TCC, early shift tomorrow. It will be on watch. See who makes it or not. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hugo, have a good day. I hope you have a good day at work, and we'll catch you later. Key says, do you think Green starts over Yedem for our 3rd cornerback spot? No, I don't. I think Renardo Green's done a good job. Very admirable. He looks the part. I think eventually he's going to be a starter for the San Francisco 49ers defense. But from what I saw at training camp when I was there, and this is always one of those hard things, is we see that training camp and then some people don't get to see it because they're not there. But I thought Isaac Yedem looked really good. And every single day he was out there, he was one of the top 3 cornerbacks. Coach Nick Sorensen said this week that he still expects it to be Isaac Yedem, and I think it will be. I think Yedem is capable of coming back. I'm guessing next week he'll start practicing, and the 49ers will start their preparations for the New York Jets. So it's going to be Yedem as cornerback 3, and then Renardo Green, I think, will be cornerback 4, and I think Rock Yassin is going to be cornerback 5, and then the 49ers can figure out how it goes from there. Do they keep Darrell Luter Jr.? Do they keep Sam Womack? Complete battle, and that's if they keep 6 cornerbacks. That's one of the toughest things about these roster decisions. You're going to lose a young player you potentially like, and you don't want to lose those players. But you have to make sure you're putting together the best possible 53-man roster. And I know that Rock Yassin is on a 1-year deal and Isaac Yedem is on a 1-year deal. And you've got a lot of corners that are going to possibly be out the door. But you've got to make sure that you win this year. You can't just keep everything on the future. So the likelihood is either Luter Jr. or Womack, one of them makes this team and the other one is out. Now, the question is, will Womack's ability to be versatile and play nickel and play outside give an advantage over Luter Jr., or will it be Luter Jr.'s control? They control him for 2 more years after this, so 3 total seasons more for Luter Jr., plus the length and size. I think those are going to be some of the arguments for both players, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for the 49ers to figure this thing out. Coach Daniel Bullock's he's got a tough decision to make, and we know Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to make the final decision, but the position coaches are going to give their opinion on the depth chart and how it looks. Luke said, Aiyuk's my guy. Hope it gets done soon. He does so much for this offense. That's the truth. He does. 49ers are a better football team with Brandon Aiyuk on it than they are without him. So they want him there. They want BA to get this thing taken care of, and the players want this done. But the 49ers players and coaches, they got to focus on getting ready for the Jets. This is up to John Lynch and Parag Marathi and Jed York. They're the ones who have to get this deal done with Brandon Aiyuk and get him in there, because you're right. This offense will look a lot different if they play the Jets without Brandon Aiyuk. If Brandon Ayuk's in the lineup, it's going to be just like it was last year, maybe a little bit more dynamic because Brock Purdy's arm's a little bit more healthy and he's just a little bit more comfortable in this offense. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Expect this week to start hearing that guys are working back in. Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Yedem. It's going to be very, very cool. And what's up, Traffic coming through with a super chat says, what's up, TCC? We're back. It's football season. It is officially football season. And thank you so much, Traffic, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. But it is that time of the year. Football is back, and the 49ers are now preparing for real games. We are going to have, first off, we're going to have to talk about all the roster, the stuff that's going to come up, because 49ers are going to narrow this thing down and find out what 53-man roster and what 16-man practice squad they're going to have going into the season. But after that, tangible football. It's matchups. It's team versus team. It's talking about what happened in games, but also preparation into what's going to happen in the game. It's what we all live for. Moments where football matters, and that's what we've got on the horizon for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's nice to put a bow on this preseason that saw a lot of cool stuff happen. The San Francisco 49ers saw a lot of rookies step up and make plays. They saw a lot of guys who came in under the radar, guys like Curtis Robinson, who really has been a practice squad player in his time with San Francisco, step up and push to make this roster. So we'll see what happens there if he ends up making this team. But that's the kind of stuff that preseason does for football teams and what it does for players. It gives them an opportunity to come in and prove who they are. A lot of people are probably done with Rock Yassin. He comes in and he plays so well through training camp and into the preseason. I know he missed a tackle today. I wasn't a fan of that. But I thought that overall he had a good camp, and he's earned himself a right to make this football team. And we don't know what the 49ers are ultimately going to decide. We're all going to try to figure it out. But on Tuesday, we're all going to know, and that's the fun part. And Kenny says, we didn't suck tonight. No, we definitely didn't, Kenny. 49ers, had moments where they played really well. I thought the first team offense looked pretty good, which I was excited about. And they look like they got into a little bit of a rhythm with the guys they had out there. Debo deep down the sideline uses his strength and body positioning to get the catch. You had George Kittle going up on that ball that Brock Purdy put just over Spillane's hands into George Kittle's hands for a big completion over the middle of the field. We saw Conley get a nice timely route coming across the field. I thought that looked nice. Jordan Mason absolutely looked good. But you know what else Jordan Mason had? Holes, which means Dominic Pooney and Nick Zakel and Jake Brendel, Colt McKivitz, Jalen Moore opened holes. And that's exciting because this offensive line has been much maligned and often talked about all throughout the offseason. So it's great. We get to go through all the preseason and talk about now who's going to make this football team. And I think there's some decisions that were really hard to make. And I think there's some that are a little bit easier now with some of the things that have happened through preseason. And honestly, just some guys not being able to get on the field because of injuries. A guy like Danny Gray did not play at all today. And so his chances of making this team have fallen off significantly. He could have came out, had a big game the way that Jacob Cowing did, last week and this week, and maybe gave himself a chance to make the team. That didn't happen. So I don't know what overall is up with Danny Gray, but it's not looking like he's going to be a part of this San Francisco 49ers football team moving forward. Now, one guy to give a little bit of credit to, I talked about his inefficiency earlier where he made a mistake and went the wrong way on protection in Cameron Latu. I thought this was probably the game he looked the most smooth catching the ball and getting yardage. So congratulations to him. Braden Willis, I thought, made a couple of key catches. That one he caught where he went down to the ground and got up on the Josh Dobbs throw when he was getting pressure. I thought that looked good. And one of those guys is probably going to make this team and one's not because of the re-addition of Logan Thomas. You don't sign Logan Thomas right before the preseason finale knowing he's not going to play. and you don't need depth there unless he's going to make your 53-man roster. So 49ers are probably going to lose one of their young tight ends that they got in last year's draft. They're probably going to either trade them or put them on waivers. So trade watch is on too. Let's see if the 49ers trade off guys that maybe aren't going to make their roster. Guys like Ronnie Bell, guys like Cameron Latu or Braden Willis. Decisions to be made. Maybe they trade off a couple guys. Maybe they waive a couple guys and hope they get them to the practice squad. They're going to have to do a good job. So it's definitely a lot of decisions to make, and I'm sure agonizing decisions. David, what's up? David Morazzo says, Latu had a nice block on the Garindo kick return. He also had a good tackle on punt return, or a punt. I'm sorry. So, I mean, that's good. There's plays, right? There's moments where you see it from Latu. Athleticism, being able to help out, had a couple good blocks, some good timely catches. I mean, what he caught on the corner route, that was really, really nice from Cameron Latu. So I think that you've seen some promise from Cameron Latu. Makes it a little bit more difficult. So you have to decide, what do you want from tight end 4? Because the truth is probably George Kittle, Eric Saubert, Logan Thomas, and one of these young guys that the 49ers ultimately decide to keep. And that's what they're going to have to do. Those are the decisions that they have to make. I don't envy their decisions. And it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. And if they do decide to keep Cameron Latu, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked. I think some people will be upset. But we're talking about tight end 4. You know what I mean? So I think right now Braden Willis would probably still be ahead of him. And we'll see what they ultimately do. But Luke says Willis also whiffed on the block and got Mason blown up in the backfield. So he's still struggling there. He hasn't been good, especially when coming out of the backfield blocking. Now, that's a tough role. And I don't think he's there, that level of like a Charlie Warner and those guys that can handle it. And Jake Tunges hasn't done as well at that either as I thought he was going to do. I mean, he played fullback for the Chicago Bears, and I don't think we saw either one of those handle those jobs the way that we were hoping. And I think that illustrates just how good Kyle Juszczyk really is. People that want to replace Kyle Juszczyk, remember that when you see these guys missing these blocks. But you're right. I mean, that's the thing. Everything equal, these young guys are still making some mistakes. And that's why they're not starters. They lack consistency. So I think that's one of the keys to remembering about these young guys and who's going to make the team and who's not. Traffic says, can we safely say Mason is running back 2? I think that the 49ers are going to play it a way that, I mean, fans, I think you could say Mason's running back 2. I think it's fine to say that. I think they're going to play it off what kind of play they're running, what kind of look they're running. And I think they're going to use it that way. I think that we're going to see a lot of Jordan Mason spelling Christian McCaffrey because McCaffrey's not going to have as many carries this year. I also think we're going to see some Elijah Mitchell. I think you're going to see both of those guys. Now, we'll see what happens. It could be as simple as, hey, in this game, we're running this scheme or this style of run. We're running gap scheme. We're going to go more Jordan Mason. We're running outside zone. We're going to go more Elijah Mitchell. We're going to feature, some plays here in the passing game where you're in the slot. Let's go Elijah Mitchell. I think it's going to be back and forth between the two when it's not Christian McCaffrey. And I'm okay with that. But I think Jordan Mason has proven that he is a really good running back. His vision was on point. His power is undeniable. They just don't take him down. No one takes him down one-on-one. He usually gets extra yards and pushes for extra yards. That is fantastic. He catches the ball a lot better than he ever has, and he gets yards after the catch now. I mean, Jordan Mason has done everything that he's supposed to do to prove that he's a very good running back. And so I think that he's going to be in the mix. I think he's going to get a lot of carries, and I think Elijah Mitchell is too. And I love that. I love that we have 3 guys that we can really count on. So huge fan of what Jordan Mason has done and improvements. And I've seen improvements when it comes to pass protection too, which we know was his Achilles heel for sure. And he's gotten a lot better in that. Luke says, Latu has upside. That's what you want out of tight end 4, and Pline will make the practice squad and hopefully become a guy. Yeah, Mason Pline, it was nice to see him get out there. A little surprised they went 4th down and ran the fade pass, but hey, 6'7", go see what he can do. Everyone wondering why Logan Thomas is going to be one of the tight ends for the 49ers. That's the kind of play they're going to run to Logan Thomas, and he's a veteran that's proven he can do that. Yeah, let's see who goes to the practice squad. Could it be Mason Pline? Well, I think it could be. We'll see what happens. I mean, if a guy like Braden Willis or Cam Latu gets waived, they might end up on the practice squad. So it's going to be interesting. I like Mason Pline. I think he's a very much a developmental talent, but he's got the size. He plays pretty good on special teams. So we'll see what he does. We'll see what happens when the 49ers make some of those decisions on this 49ers roster. And ultimately, they're the ones who have to decide, right? Who's gonna be in there and who's not. Luke says Mitchell, when healthy, is running back too. People forget how dang good he is. Mitchell is nice, speed and power, great vision. I think we've got, like I said, guys that could start. I think Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell would start on a lot of teams around this league. Those two guys, the mixture of power, speed, agility, aggressiveness, it's there. Those two guys are powerful, explosive runners. I'm excited about both of them. And, I've been a guy that's a huge fan of Elijah Mitchell for a long time. And I think if the injuries weren't there, I think his tradability would be huge, because I think a lot of teams around this league in need of running back would be seeking to get Elijah Mitchell, but he's been hurt too much. So, hey, the spoils go to the 49ers, who now have 3 very talented running backs and a young guy like Isaac Rindo who's on the up and coming. So very excited about them for sure. All right, guys, I'm going to check out. I would tell you all, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. This episode of 49ers Cutback is brought to you by Bet Online, and the game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.